Greetings, dear viewers. In this episode, we'll talk a bit about motorcycles with sidecars. This type of vehicle is generally well known among motorcycle enthusiasts. Some of you have had the chance to ride a motorcycle with a sidecar either as a passenger or as a driver. And has anyone owned or currently owned such a machine? Maybe it's a heavy Naper from the Kiev motorcycle plant, or a Ural from Urbit, or perhaps an IZH with a sidecar. And there are also plenty of enthusiasts who equip modern two-wheeled vehicles with a sidecar. At the same time, starting from cruisers and the Honda Goldwing to large touring enduros like the Yamaha Super Tenere, KTM 1290, adventurer sport tourers such as the Suzuki Hayabusa, for example. Mostly people either do these modifications privately or order them from specialized workshops. However, at the moment there are production motorcycle models with sidecars in the world. The vast majority of them come from China. That's what I'm going to tell you about today. You're on the Moto channel. Enjoy watching. First, a little historical background. At a certain point in history, motorcycles with sidecars were quite common, and almost every respectable motorcycle company made sure to have a sidecar model in their lineup. Such a motorcycle was intended both for practical purposes and, in some cases, as a luxury vehicle for tourism and leisure. The sidecar allowed for carrying more cargo and an extra passenger, and the three-wheel design also provided additional stability. For example, this helped during winter use. Such motorcycles were popular among various officials, police officers, military personnel, firefighters, mailmen, and so on. The origin of the sidecar is a subject of debate, but it is possible to piece together the general picture. At the end of the 19th century, a series of events paved the way for its appearance. In 1880, the roller chain was patented, which made it possible to create a safety bicycle with wheels of equal size. Creative and engineering-minded individuals soon came up with a lightweight sidecar for the bicycle. It was in this trailer that energetic, stylish athletes would ride with their ladies. Early motorcycles were mainly built on the basis of bicycles, and the sidecar was also transferred to these motorized vehicles. And we have to thank the ladies of that era for the development of its design. The passenger could be carried on a seat behind the driver, but where have you seen a respectable lady of that era who would trade her long skirt for pants and the comfort of a sidecar for an uncomfortable seat over the rear wheel? The earliest mention of a motorcycle with a sidecar dates back to 1893. It was then that one of the French newspapers announced a competition, promising a reward to whoever could come up with the best way to transport a passenger with comfort and elegance. 3 very different methods were presented: in front, behind on a trailer, and on the side in a sidecar. For a long time, the motorcycle with a sidecar was a cheaper alternative to the car. However, by 1960, many countries began to move away from this concept due to the appearance of small and, most importantly, affordable cars, such as the Fiat 500 or Volkswagen Beetle. In other countries, such as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and China, sidecar motorcycles were in demand and produced in the 80s and 90s. By the 2010s, the production of such vehicles in the world had almost come to an end. About 10 years ago, the Urbit Motorcycle Zavod factory boasted that it remained the only manufacturer of mass-produced motorcycles with a sidecar. However, by the third decade of the 21st century, a whole line of sidecar motorcycles was being mass-produced in China, starting from lightweight 125cc bikes and ending with monsters equipped with a 2-liter V-twin. I won't list every single model. Instead, I'll focus on the 10 most significant ones in my opinion. You might also come across the name Yingang Coco, a small displacement motorcycle with a sidecar. Yingang is essentially a scooterette that closely copies the design and technical solutions of the Honda Super Cub, to which they've attached a rather elegant sidecar. The engine with a horizontally positioned cylinder is also copied from Honda. Its displacement is 125 cubic centimeters, and the maximum power is 8.5 horsepower. The curb weight of this motorcycle is 175 kilograms, and it can accelerate up to 70 kilometers per hour. Please note that there are versions with both chain drive to the rear wheel and with a drive shaft. At the time of its release in early October 2023, the starting price for the Jiangling with a sidecar was set at 15,180 yuan, which was about 2,100 United States dollars at that time. The main audience for this vehicle is beginner motorcyclists. Next in the lineup is Lijian LJ 250B. This small motorcycle with a sidecar has a slightly larger engine than the previous 125cc model. It is equipped with a 250cc single-cylinder engine, producing 19.7 horsepower. The machine weighs 245 kilograms and is capable of reaching a speed of 90 kilometers per hour. The Legion is sold for $2,500. How can we not mention in this episode the already well-known Groza, featured in the episodes with Sanny Chetadella and Andrei Skuterts, Defender 500 LC and its predecessor, the Defender 500 model. This is a motorcycle with a sidecar designed in a retro military style. That's why its appearance, in some ways, resembles Soviet and Chinese motorcycles with sidecars from the 1960s and 1970s, and in some ways, even German vehicles from World War II. However, the Defender's internals are quite modern. In 2023, the Defender 500 version was produced, which was equipped with a single-cylinder 445cc engine with air oil cooling. It's a licensed copy of the engine from the Honda XR 400 with a maximum power of 30 horsepower and a torque of 30 Newton meters. However, already in 2024, the Chinese released a seriously upgraded model, the Groza Defender 500 LC, focusing on improving the motorcycle's dynamic performance. The engine underwent major changes. Now, the Groza's frame is fitted with a two-cylinder inline engine with liquid cooling and a displacement of 494 cubic centimeters. It's a copy of the Honda CB500 engine. This engine produces 54 horsepower and 50 Newton meters of torque. The gearbox is 5-speed. The original Honda has a 6-speed gearbox, but instead of a 6th gear, the Chinese implemented a reverse gear. Thanks to the use of a fuel injection system on both versions, they managed to achieve low fuel consumption, 4 and 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers, respectively. On the Defender 500, the tank capacity was 13 liters, which should have been enough for 300 kilometers of range, while on the LC version, it was increased to 18. Now it's enough for 400 kilometers. The motorcycle weighs 345 kilograms, which is 3 kilograms more than its predecessor, and it can reach a top speed of 140 kilometers per hour. The cruising speed on the highway is about 100. These motorcycles are officially supplied both to Commonwealth of Independent States countries and to Europe. The price tag is $7,000 for the Defender 511 for the updated version and $11,000 for the updated version. You probably know a company called Shineray. In 2020, they introduced the Sideforce 400 model. And in 2023, the Tornado 520, and these motorcycles are absolutely identical to the two Defenders. And that's because all this equipment is produced by the Shineray Group. And Groza is a subsidiary brand for selling equipment in the Commonwealth of Independent States. And in Europe, these motorcycles are imported by a French company. And the names there are a bit different. For example, the Defender 500 LC is called the MASH B-Side 500. In the 500cc class, there is also a motorcycle called the Yingang 500 Sport Utility Vehicle. You can also come across the model name YG500B2A. Unlike the Defender, the 500 Sport Utility Vehicle is designed to look like a crossover. The front end and the windshield, typical for the adventure touring class, really stand out. The vehicle is equipped with a single-cylinder 452cc engine. It produces 41 horsepower and 37 Newton meters of torque. The vehicle weighs 334 kilograms when fully equipped and reaches a top speed of 115 kilometers per hour. The motorcycle is designed for travel and touring. The motorcycle also features an Ural's type leading link front fork. It allows for more predictable handling and adds comfort while riding. Yingang also produces 500cc versions of the motorcycle with a sidecar in a classic style. The price of this machine in China is around $6,000. Now next up we have another vehicle from Yingang, the JH600BA model, a motorcycle with a sidecar and a military style. It is equipped with a 590cc 4-stroke single-cylinder engine with a maximum power of 36 horsepower and a torque of 46 Newton meters. The machine is equipped with a 4-speed gearbox with reverse gear. The motorcycle weighs 363 kilograms when fully equipped and can reach a speed of up to 110 kilometers per hour. The fuel tank holds 19 liters of fuel, and the consumption is within 5 to 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers. This motorcycle costs around 30,000 yuan in China, which is approximately equal to 4,000 United States dollars. Despite the solid engine displacement, the dynamic characteristics of Yingang JH600BA are quite mediocre compared to the two-cylinder 520. At this point, it's worth mentioning the company flagman in terms of sidecar motorcycle production volumes. This is ChangJiang, which literally means Yangtze River in Chinese. Among Chinese companies, ChangJiang has the longest history of producing sidecar motorcycles. They started back in the 60s, when the Soviet Union helped the Chinese set up production of the M72 motorcycle. Later, the company switched to producing overhead valve boxer engines, and now they have chosen inline twin engines. It's worth starting the review of ChangJiang's products with the Dynasty 650 and 650 Pekin Express models. The 650 produces 55 horsepower and 62 Newton meters of torque. To meet modern emission standards and reduce fuel consumption, the engine is equipped with a Bosch injection system. The motorcycle with a sidecar weighs 370 kilograms and accelerates up to 140 kilometers per hour. The fuel tank holds 20 liters and the consumption is 5.5 per 100. The 700 cubic model SJ700 continues the lineup. It seems to be the same inline twin, but with a slightly increased displacement, namely up to 693 cubic centimeters. But the engine's potential has increased significantly. Its power is 74 horsepower, and the torque is 68 Newton meters. Also, relatively recently, the SJ750 Siberian Express version appeared with the same engine. Among all these sidecar motorcycles, ChangJiang stands out with the ChangJiang 800B2 model. It is designed in a cruiser style and in keeping with the traditions of this class, is equipped with a V-twin engine. Its displacement is 800 cc with liquid cooling. The maximum power is 58 horsepower, and the torque is 65 Newton meters. The 800 weighs 420 kilograms and can accelerate up to 130 kilometers per hour. The fuel tank has an impressive capacity of 29 liters. The stated price is $9,200. A very similar motorcycle with a sidecar is sold under the brand Mojang CQ800D2. Also in 2024, the company ChangJiang introduced another interesting model of a motorcycle with a sidecar. This is the 5750 Defender, whose engine design resembles the technology of the Italian brand Moto Guzzi. This machine weighs 402 kilograms, and its 744 cubic centimeter engine boasts a maximum power of 51.5 horsepower. The 5750 Defender accelerates up to 130 kilometers per hour. The Benelli brand has at least 2 motorcycles with a sidecar in its lineup. The company was originally founded in Italy by 6 Benelli brothers. At one time, this equipment was successful in racing, but after a series of ups and downs, the company was bought out by the Chinese. In 2024, Benelli introduced their flagship touring model, the SRT 800, including a version with a sidecar. The motorcycle is designed for long and fairly comfortable journeys, and the sidecar helps to carry all the luggage or seat an additional passenger. The SRT 800 is equipped with a liquid-cooled inline 2-cylinder engine with a displacement of 799 cubic centimeters. The engine specifications are quite impressive. Its maximum power is 96.5 horsepower, and the torque is 79 Newton meters. The engine was developed in collaboration with KTM. The fuel tank holds 24 liters of gasoline, which, with a consumption of 5.5 liters, means long distances on a single fill-up. The motorcycle costs 53,000 yuan on the Chinese market, which is about $7,500. Benelli also has a retro-style sidecar model, the SRV 500. It is equipped with an inline twin engine with a displacement of 550 cubic centimeters, a power output of 61 horsepower, and a torque of 55 newton meters. There is also a motorcycle model called the SFT 900, and its sidecar version under the QJ motor brand was presented at the Esposizione Internazionale Ciclo Motociclo e Accessori exhibition at the end of 2024. And in fact, this is the second major player in the sidecar motorcycle market. In September 2023, the company Shineray announced the creation of a new motorcycle brand called X-Wedge and immediately introduced 5 motorcycle models with 2,000 cubic centimeter engines. In this episode, we're interested in one of them, namely the Voyager VS 2000. As part of a strategic partnership, X-Wedge acquired the technical assets of the American company S&S Cycle. This fact explains how the Chinese got their monstrous 2-liter V-twins. The technical specifications of the Voyager are quite impressive. The 2-liter twin produces 103 horsepower and 158 newton meters of torque. The torque from the engine is transmitted through a 6-speed gearbox to the rear wheel and via a differential to the sidecar wheel. The machine weighs 493 kilograms dry and is designed for comfortable touring on good roads. The VS 2000 is sold at a price equivalent to $24,000. Yes, nowadays Ural also produces a range of vehicles with a sidecar. Due to the events of 2022, production was moved to Kazakhstan in order to bypass trade restrictions and sanctions. For the past 15 years, Ural has been an expensive toy produced in small batches. Only a few people buy them in Russia, and the main markets are the United States of America, Canada, and Australia. There is a group of motorcycle enthusiasts there who appreciate Ural for its vintage look. Some enthusiasts pay attention to the presence of a drive on the sidecar wheel, which definitely helps when riding off-road. The modern Ural, despite the innovations that the motorcycles received in the 21st century, like fuel injection, disc brakes, and so on, is clearly losing to Chinese manufacturers, both in terms of stated specifications and in the range of models. You've probably noticed that a number of these sidecar motorcycles are equipped with a leading link front suspension with 2 spring hydraulic shock absorbers. So you shouldn't believe the various tabloid articles from the internet, of which there are plenty online, claiming that this is supposedly an imitation of the Ural motorcycle style. This type of front suspension is called Urals, named after the English inventor Ernest Urals, who applied for a patent for his invention. In 1951, Urals tried to offer an alternative to the telescopic fork, which had become popular by that time. The main goal of Ernesto's design was to reduce fluctuations in the wheelbase length. Such a suspension dived much less during braking and had high handling quality. However, there was also a downside, a greater weight compared to the telescopic fork. And the Urals front suspension also performed excellently on vehicles with a sidecar. It's not for nothing that BMW installed this type of front wheel suspension on their motorcycles from 1955 to the late 60s. This solution made it possible to achieve a significant improvement in handling quality. In fact, BMWs from the mid-50s were the benchmark for handling. And this suspension is installed on both the Ural and the Chinese bikes we're reviewing for a reason. So friends, that's our selection of modern motorcycles with sidecars. At the moment, this segment is actively developing in China, and within a year, a number of new and quite interesting models will be introduced. Of course, not all models of equipment were covered in this episode. And in the niche of small and medium engine capacities, there is still a whole range of motorcycles with sidecars. That's why I've pinned a link in the description to a website where you can find almost all sidecar motorcycles made in China. I'm by no means trying to praise any particular machine. This video will be watched by fans of the Ural with its drive shaft and sidecar drive, and for some people that's an undeniable advantage of a sidecar motorcycle. This episode will also be watched by people who either own a product of the Chinese motorcycle industry or those who wouldn't mind getting such a machine. I also didn't talk about the reliability and durability of the motorcycles in this episode. For that, you need experience using them, preferably over several years. And for that information, you should turn to the owners of the equipment. This video wouldn't have been possible without outside help. During the making of this, I got a lot of help from Alexei Sinev, a longtime subscriber of mine and someone who's curious about Chinese motorcycles with sidecars. A huge thank you to him for his help. That brings my story to an end. If you enjoyed this episode, found it informative and possibly useful, please take a moment to like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this episode with your friends, fans of motorcycles with sidecars. And be sure to write your thoughts in the comments about modern motorcycles with sidecars, or about any specific model. This was Crass Moto Channel. See you next time.